All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are so excited for you to join us tonight on our live webinar. Again, we're so sorry if you are a Thursday night football fan to potentially be interfering with that or dinner time, but we'd love to know if you're here joining us tonight. Maybe what you're having for dinner, what team you're rooting for tonight, maybe what responsibility you're avoiding, such as sweeping the house, just typically what I'm avoiding. But again, we are so excited to have you here and excited to kick off the webinar.
All right, so first and foremost, welcome again. Let me reiterate Mrs. Richardson's welcome again. There's a lot of things that you could always be spending your time on in the evening. And again, we feel really privileged and grateful that you're jumping in with us tonight to learn about the Indian Hill Experienceships program. So we're going to kick off with some introductions and then we're going to dive into it. This is not going to be an hour of us talking. It's going to be a little bit about history, about what the kids can see, what it's all about, how do they access it, and then absolutely we're going to leave some time for questions. So Mrs. Richardson will explain a little bit more about that also in a second. So again, good evening. My name is Jeff Demadeo. I currently serve as the Director of Leadership and Career Development for the district. Before this, I was the high school principal for the previous 7 years. And that's kind of where this all started. So super excited to be here and be part of this work and to be sharing it with you all tonight.
And hello, everyone. I am Lauren Richardson. This is my 8th year in the district. Previously, I was the innovation coach here at the high school under Jeff's leadership. And this is my 2nd year in the IH Experienceships coordinator role. So again, super excited to be with you. Kind of how the night will work is any questions you have that pop up as we are speaking, feel free to drop those in the chat that is you're going to see on the right-hand side of your screen. We can see those, and what we'll do is we'll pause throughout the presentation and address those questions as they come up. But again, no question is a bad question. We're happy to answer those. The great thing about this platform is we're not on a Zoom call, so you don't have to mute and unmute. You don't have to hide your camera. But again, we want it to be interactive, and we'd love for you to drop anything, even if it's just hello in the chat, so we know who's joining us tonight. We can see 37 of you are watching, but we don't know, again, who's watching. So feel free to say hi in the chat. We'd love to see who's here.
All right, so we're going to get a chance today, of course, to kind of answer all the questions that we hope that you have. But before we get into what it is right now, I'd love to just take us back to kind of where this all started. So Indian Hill Experienceships, the program is not brand new. It's not 2 years old. It's actually something that has been with us. And we started to build and ideate the program and what it could be back in 2019 and 2020. I know Mrs. Richardson, we're just kind of working through it right a little bit. We're a little stuck there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sorry, it is.
No, if we can just advance that slide one time.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go. All right. So again, we're not going to go into like a long history of it because we really want to maximize the time for all of you. But if you take a look, that's a nice timeline of how it all started. And it started back in the 1920 school year. Yes, the infamous 1920 school year, which eventually we shut down in March. But really where this all started is it actually started with students. And we had a couple of students in the 1819 school district that had an opportunity to experience the world of work, particularly 2 different internships that were organized by family members where they had to then leave school to experience these things. And when they first came to us about this experience, they had full schedules. They were both juniors. One was a senior, both juniors at that time. They had full schedules. And so where did they do it? And how did they leave? And how can this possibly work? And so really, to make a long story short, when they came to us with the idea, it's something that really we've never done before, let kids out and all the things that can happen once you do that. But once we realized the power of that, it was an absolute yes. And so those 2 students left school. We talked with their teachers and arranged their schedules so that they can experience something really, really cool and unique. And then it was thinking about, well, we have a couple of students doing this on their own. How do we make this for all? How can we take this concept and allow and create a program where all students have the opportunity to experience the world of work, careers, the applied version of all the things they're learning in a hands-on way, And how do we help build that for them? So it's not just something that came from a family friend or a hookup. What if we did it for them? And so, as you can kind of see through the program development, it started with a small test group in 1920. That's when we were ready to launch. Boom, you may remember the little COVID pandemic that shut everything down. People started to reopen their doors to our students. And so that pilot group had to wait a little bit. In the summer of 2022, we had 5 students over with 5 different partners that summer. And as you can see through the timeline, it has just taken off into what it is and what it's become. Those 5 students ended up being 40 in the program. We had over 160 in the program. We had over 58 just this past summer in internships, and it continues to expand every single year. We're so excited. We're going to share some numbers with you as well in a short while, but that's how we got here. And again, what I love is it started with students, and then it was how do we go big and scale it?
Absolutely. So we're going to do kind of an overview of the entire process, what we do in Experienceships, what we do kind of within the department as well. But here is the process as a whole. So the first thing students do is apply. Right now, the application is open to students 9 through 12, and that will stay open until Friday, September 12th. Again, that application takes maybe 5 minutes to complete. It's essentially them saying, I have this intent to grow. I want to explore my career options. I want in. Once they complete that application, and again, there's an application window now and another that will occur in November, they are then put into an onboarding course, which I'll kind of dive into in a little bit. That onboarding course is made in-house. That is nothing that we pull, off of a website or from somebody that curates content. That is built here in Entrepreneur Center as an IH Experienceships coordinator. And that has 3 main components: success skills, resume writing, and also interview preparation. So before we're sending students out to things like job shadows, site visits, or internships, we want to make sure that they have some professional preparation before doing that. And just this week, I was going through all of the feedback from additions that students would like to see for this school year and adding those into the course. So the great thing is the students are saying things like, I want to know better questions to ask. What are some they don't know it's called active listening, but how can I show that I'm listening? How should I dress? What are my nonverbals communicating when I'm speaking with an adult? And kids are putting this in there saying, like, I want to know, teach me. So all those additions have been made to the course this week, but that onboarding course really is gives them the skill set to set themselves apart and have kind of a competitive edge in the workplace or whatever they're doing here within the Experienceships program. Another really, really exciting thing that we do here in the program is what's called a mentor meeting. This mentor meeting is with a professional in the field. And again, what they do is they look at students' resumes and listen to their elevator speeches and are there to provide feedback. This is typically a 1-hour meeting. Students walk away with some great takeaways that Jeff's going to share with you in a little bit. But that mentor meeting, I think, is something that is unique to our program, that every student in the program gets one-on-one feedback from a professional about their resume and their elevator pitch. Because I know in our eyes, our students should be able to walk out the door of Indian Hill High School, and if they see somebody, at Camargo playing tennis, they say, "Hey, tell me a little bit about yourself." Our students should be ready in that moment to say exactly what their value add is. The next thing is the offerings menu, which you'll get some insight in today. The great thing is this is the first time some of our parents are seeing, what the students see. So if you're on this, be excited that you get to see that. And then finally, we have an advisory board made up of 12 students. This year, it is 6 juniors and 6 seniors that help to inform our processes, organize our events, onboard new members. So those students play a really vital role. I did want to say, if any of you are interested in potentially being a mentor coach, again, that is a half an hour to an hour time commitment. I will drop the link in the chat for you to sign up. We would love to have you, especially as a community member, a unique way to invest back in the program. But in terms holistically, this is the Experienceships process. It all starts with that application that is currently live right now. And if you're thinking, okay, I've heard nothing about this, or if you're a student on this webinar and thinking, where do I even find it? Again, it is in I'll skip to this page, class of page. So parents can see this if you're an observer on Canvas, students can see this. But in your Class of Canvas page under announcements is where you can find this application. And again, what we'll show you right now is this kind of gives some insight into numbers. So starting last school year, there were 74 students enrolled across grades 9 through 12. At the end of the school year, as of May, and this kind of shows you the breakdown, this is how many active students we had in the program split across graduating classes. So what's incredible about this is you see freshmen last year were getting involved, 27 of them deciding to set themselves apart as they're also learning to navigate high school. But I think the great thing about that is they're saying, I'm not going to wait. I want to be a part of this now, and I want to take advantage of these opportunities now. So that's, again, just a basic Google Form application, but gives a little bit of insight into what students are, what grade levels are actually engaging in the program. Right here, you'll see it. And it's a pretty even split across the board. So when we talk about the onboarding course, this is what's fun. And this is, again, any of us in education, we love to do this. It is not meant, we don't want this to be a barrier for students. We understand that our students are involved in a lot of things, have a lot of demanding courses, and also we want them to be able just to be a kid and have some relaxation time. So our onboarding course, if you do it from start to finish with no breaks, takes about 4 hours as a whole. But students, once they apply to get into the program, they have between now and May to finish the course. So if you're a student on this call, or if you're a parent thinking, oh, my kid is just, they've got a lot going on right now, but in November, their time frees up a lot, let them know that if they apply to get in the course or apply to get into the program and I add them to the course, they don't have to do this in the next 5 days. They have extended time to be able to get this done when the time is right for them. What we typically see is students will say, I didn't apply because I didn't have time right now. And then they miss the application window and regret not having access to these opportunities. So we're trying to encourage all students, if this is something that you want to take part in, apply now, let us get you in the course. And then as you have time, work to complete that course.
Yeah, one great question, Mrs. Richardson, that came up as well just now is, can students participate multiple years? And the answer is yes. Our hope is that, if the entire freshman class applied to the cohort window that's open now and they start to get into the onboarding course, they start to create a resume. We'll talk a little bit more again about connecting with a mentor. That component of the course, if you will, of the group, of the program is done, and they don't have to repeat it. So we've had students, in fact, some of you on the call may have had your own students, or let's say older student, children who have already started with us, but we've had students part of this from their 9th grade to their 12th grade, and they just graduated, and they've done multiple internships. I came to all the business at breakfast. So yes, it is meant to get in early and then to take as much advantage of it as really you want. And that's one of the cool things too. So it really is for all grades 9 through 12. And really, as Mrs. Richardson said, whenever they're ready, jump in and just get started.
What I love about this too is, again, we see two big influxes. It's right now there's a lot of freshmen who we got to speak with during their Bridges orientation, and they understand that right now is probably the easiest their course load will ever be. So they've got a little bit more time than the upperclassmen. So they're really trying to get in and engage with this. That way they don't have to worry about the onboarding course. Obviously, we still send them education and ways to grow in terms of these skills. But this 4-hour course that they have to complete isn't on their plate when they're a junior. They just have access to the opportunities, and we'll show you kind of what that looks like. But that's what we love. And what we've loved this year, especially that Jeff and I have seen, is all of these siblings coming out. The older sibling is telling the younger sibling, especially even as an 8th grader, hey, the minute you step into high school, you better get involved with this program. And it's fun to see that the older influence the younger.
I'll address one more quick question too, so we keep going. And the next one was really about, can they get in now, apply now, finish the course, and then wait until the summer maybe to do, let's say, an internship. We'll talk more about like all of the different opportunities that fall within kind of the Experienceships umbrella in a moment, because it's more than just those summer internships. And we'll share a little bit about this. But yes, if I'm a freshman right now or sophomore or wherever, and I apply right now and I finish the course, yeah, that part is done, and I'm preparing myself. And if I can't do anything and I have to wait till the summer, absolutely, you can wait until the summer too. So we'll keep it going. Keep those questions coming.
That's right. Thank you for submitting those. Those are fantastic. So I will move forward. And this just gives you a little bit of insight. Something that's important to us also is the content is engaging to students. Again, we all know even as adults, sometimes the stuff is too text heavy. It's not fun or engaging to watch. So as you can see, we've got a lot of graphic representation. This is also great if maybe English isn't the first language of your child. They've got some icons and stuff that they can work with, but you'll see, and we will share this presentation out at the end to you, but you'll be able to click on these. These are the videos that the students see. Again, some graphics that are created. If you're work for P&G and you're on this call, the car strategy is not foreign to you. Again, we're taking insights from all of our partners and adding it to this course to make it as relevant as we can for students. So when we say course, this gives you a little bit of insight into what that course looks like. But feel free to ask your child as well, hey, let me see what you're doing. I'm curious, because to be honest, the video on nonverbal, kind of what you're depicting with your nonverbals made me so excited. And I watched it this week and I'm like, how am I just learning this, in my 30s? I should have known this about 15 years ago. So again, very fun, but I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
All right, so again, just to kind of reiterate a little bit, Mrs. Richardson touched on it. One of the really key components that we're very proud of that we really wanted to have as part of the learning process, that kind of preparation process before we send them off to the world, is to connect with a mentor. And as you see here on the screen, what you're looking at are some of the kind of the feedback and testimonials from students about the power and the impact their conversations and connections with mentors have been. So as Mrs. Richardson said, as they apply and they're building their resume and they're working on their interview skills, they're not doing it with a computer. They're doing it with a professional. Sometimes they do it face-to-face. Sometimes they do it remote. Many of these mentors as well are not just parents that have volunteered and have been amazing supporters since the get-go, but over the last year, we've been recruiting alumni, really, to be honest, biased alumni that I've had the pleasure to graduate since the class of 2018. And as you see there, we've had 33 alumni that are now part of the conversation, bringing in their more recent journey through whatever comes after high school, whether that's college. They're now slowly entering the workforce, and they're kind of coming back, paying it forward, connecting with our kids, and just having those conversations about life. And I'm just going to say one more thing before we move to the next slide. The reason why this is so powerful is even from our partners, when we share that this is a part of the program, that you're not just signing up, checking from a laundry list of opportunities, and then we just send you off blind. As Mrs. Richardson said, we really want to prepare them and equip them with as many skills that they're going to need to be a good ambassador of themselves, their families, and Indian Hill when they're in a space of a professional setting. And for some of our partners, this component actually was the difference maker of them saying yes to our high school students and letting them in, and no. And that's something we're really proud of. So again, as Mrs. Richardson said, and it's in the chat, if you want to be a mentor, please click the link. We're still recruiting. We're going to continue to recruit those alumni. I mean, it's just so much fun to re-engage and have them pay it back because they were in high school just a few years ago. So I'll jump into this, and I kind of mentioned, Experienceships. One of the things that we'll continue to do more of is Experienceships program just summer internships? And the answer is no. And in fact, one of the first things that Mrs. Richardson and I did last November with our staff was actually talking about what does it mean, or how do we engage in this program? And as you see on the screen, there's really three main ways or opportunities. We'll dive a little bit into them because we want to leave some time for questions at the end. How you engage in the Experienceships program. Yes, you see at the bottom, internships are a big part of it. Summer is a hot time for them. And along the way, there are some internships even that are available for kids right now. But as Mrs. Richardson also alluded to, we're creating job shadow opportunities, site visits where we're taking small groups of students and staff to professional settings and letting them experience the world of work and talking to those folks and asking them questions about their journey and kind of get that sense of this is what awaits you, which may lead to an internship and it may not. But also, and we just had two of them this past week, one just a couple of days ago, we will continue to bring in guest speakers and career connection events, whether those are classroom speakers we bring in during Flex or Lunch and Learn. And all students actually have the ability to sign up for those opportunities, whether you're within the cohort of the application window that just opened or not. And like we said, we want to expose all of our kids to the world of work and the opportunities that lie ahead. So these are all the different ways. We'll share a little bit more in terms of some detail in a little bit about what falls under the Experienceships program umbrella. And that actually was new and some updated news for our staff. It's certainly something we'll continue to do with our own students so they know it's not just internships. It's a plethora of opportunities, and a lot of them are just low lifts. And we know that they're also really busy with their schedules and their extracurriculars. So sometimes that fear of an extra time commitment weighs heavy on them. It's not, a lot of them are low lifts. And so just get in, apply. If you're a student listening or a parent, tell them to get in and start to access and say yes. Just say yes to what's coming.
There's a question in the chat that I want to talk about. That's a great question. It says, any first-time seniors this year? Yes, actually, I just checked the application recently, and there are 10. The funny thing about this was last spring, we did like a kind of a sprint application window, and the largest group were those rising seniors, because I think what a lot of them are realizing is, one, oh my goodness, like I've done a lot of clubs and I've done a lot of things, but I haven't really dug deep into my future career pursuits potentially, and what that looks like. And I don't even know really what I want to do for sure. And I haven't lived that. So absolutely, we're seeing seniors sign up. Again, as you saw, there's about 45 of them right now that are already in the program. So I would anticipate at least 80 of them by the end of this application window. But I think the other thing that I noticed, especially with the senior class, is that summer after senior year graduate or after your graduation, before you start undergrad, is a really weird spot for kids because they don't have their sports that they've always done. They don't have their clubs. Their friends are all leaving to go different places at different times, and they want to do something meaningful. So we had a lot actually of our class of 2025 seniors doing internships last summer with companies like Siemens or DMG or Niche Fire. They were out there doing that because the reality is, and if you have older children, you know this, those career fairs at the colleges, they happen in September. So if your students are going out, and I'm a freshman in undergrad trying to compete with a junior and I have no experience, it's kind of hard to compete with that junior that might have a couple internships under their belt. So what I think our students are starting to realize, and especially that senior class, is if I want to be competitive once I leave Indian Hill and step onto that college campus and enter that career fair, I've got to start engaging in things like internships now. So Jeff, I don't know if you would add anything to that, but I think absolutely for seniors to get involved.
Yeah, I couldn't stress more. This is for all at any time. There is no bad time to start to pursue something you think you're interested in, or just check it out. It kind of alludes to the next question that someone posted about, what if they don't know what they're interested in? And that's great. I certainly did not. Education was not my dream. It wasn't my original path as a high schooler. So what I would say to that is there are so many opportunities we're creating, particularly from a guest speaker perspective, that are coming from all different areas. If I'm a student right now, we also arrange most of these guest speaking engagements during their lunch and during flex, so they're not missing class. What I would say is you don't have to have it figured out right now. But what is cool and what we're trying to build is we're trying to expose them, whether it's through things that the counseling team is doing, through their youth science assessment, and that's something that they've been working on, or just come and check it out. Come to a business at breakfast, which we'll hit on in a little bit. Come to the guest speaker, whether you understand what they do for a living, even have an inclination towards what maybe their job title is. And you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I've never really thought of that. Just say yes and spend some time. And then that exposure, that window of opportunities, you realize is really wide. So please make sure that, we're not saying you should have it figured out. And as Mrs. Richardson said, even the students doing summer internships, some of them, that's their third, fourth, or fifth internship, and not in the same field. They're just testing the waters. What better time to do that right now in high school when it is kind of low stakes, before they have to figure out really their major and make a bigger decision? So say yes, step out of your comfort zone, and hopefully something does spark interest and that continues down the line.
And I think what I'll say before I move on to the next slide, which will kind of get to the next question that's in the chat, is I think Jeff mentioned something along these lines, but you'll see it there in the middle, job shadows and site visits. These are typically half day or full day. Students are excused from school to go to these events organized through Experienceships. And I think the big thing is if students just go on site visits, that's still a lot of great career exposure and experience that they wouldn't have otherwise if they never do an internship. And I think about when I was in high school, like what exposure did I have to go out and try things, to see another workplace, to feel the culture of that company? And you don't get it. And Jeff and I laugh all the time. It's one of the most fun parts of our job is we get to go out to some of these workplaces before we decide to take kids out. And we're like, oh my gosh, we want all staff to come see this. We want all students. We want parents, because we never had that opportunity. So I think if the student isn't ready for an internship, or maybe your family travels a lot during the summer, job shadows and site visits, again, are a huge win if they can get that exposure. So that one of the questions in the chat was along the lines of, are there a range of different shadowing opportunities and internships? Absolutely. Something that is really important to us is to give that variety and to make sure not only are we looking at, we poll the kids as they enter the program, like what is your top career interest? And we really tailor the offerings to represent kind of, one, what are kids most interested in? Let's make sure we have those things in our menu, but also what are other things that they might not be thinking about that we should expose them to? So what you'll see here kind of grayed out in the background is this is what kids see in what we call our offerings menu. And in the middle, it'll say what industry that's representing. These align with the Ohio Department of Education career clusters is what they call them. So if you're wondering maybe why things are grouped together, this is dictated by ODE. But again, as you'll see when you look down here, you've got things like Procter & Gamble, Morgan Stanley, MSA Design, which is architecture, Euler Hines, which is real estate. I mean, we really do run the gamut in that, and we're very intentional about that. We're also very intentional about finding nonprofit, small business, startup, healthcare systems, to make sure we're giving students a great balance and good exposure to all different types of workplaces. So when students click on this, and this is something that parents don't ever get to see unless they're behind the scenes as students are clicking on these things, is let's say, for example, I'm a student and I see RC Capital. And you'll see right here, it says finance and baking. And then right next to us, it says site visit or panel job shadow. Right next to that, there's a link. When you click on that link, this is exactly what students see. It describes the company. It has their LinkedIn profile. It has what the internship or job shadow experience is like, and it shows them where to apply. So students have all this in front of them sorted. They can sort by application date. They can sort by industry that they can find opportunities. So again, when we're talking about the question of, is there a wide variety? Absolutely. And we're very intentional about that. And I will say, let's see, I'm trying to see.
So Mrs. Richard, I also just realized that I actually can connect and start commenting on the side. So for those that are asking some questions, I'll definitely do both. As Mrs. Richard is chatting, because this is a good one, but I'll drop some comments in the chat to keep us going too. So
absolutely.
On this question, I'm going to answer the next one.
Yeah, we're doing great. So in terms of, yes, there are experiences available. So right now, actually, we had our advisory board meeting, and one of our students just got an internship with BF Realty in Loveland. So she has early release from school due to taking some CCPs, and she left our advisory board meeting early to go to her real estate internship. So absolutely, those pop up. We notice that it's not, that sometimes companies aren't as, I would say, open to it this time of year, because in the summer, they're used to doing it with college students. So I find it's a little bit easier to integrate the students in that way. But absolutely, we have opportunities throughout the school year that are internships. And sometimes they're remote internships, and sometimes, like today, she reports to BF Realty for that work. So great question, but I'll keep going. So this is, again, what the offering menu looks like. And for some students, this is new to them as well. So again, examples. This was a group that we took out to RC Capital. Again, district parent who welcomed us in, had his team talk to our students for a day opportunity. That was all that was intended for that day, is just to have a site visit. But here's what's really unique and powerful about this program, is you never know what can come from that. So as we were sitting in this room, and I feel like I can say her name because she's known in the community, she's an Indian Hill alumni. Samantha Kane was the only senior in this space that day. If you guys know Samantha, she's fantastic. And Samantha was hoping to pursue something, potentially finance, investments, wasn't really sure. But they were speaking about, a student asked, do you have internships? And they said, yes, typically for college sophomores. So again, when you're sharing a space, when you make that personal connection with somebody in the field, Samantha was in the same space as their HR lead. After that meeting, Samantha reached out and said, hey, I'd love to talk more. I really think this would be a great opportunity for me. And Samantha, who is now at Yale, had an internship this summer that is typically slated for a college sophomore. RC Capital gave it to her as a graduating senior from Indian Hill High School because, one, they saw her initiative, her potential, how she carried herself at the site visit. So I think sometimes students don't understand that a site visit could become a lot more just based on that interaction that you have, with the personnel of that company. So this was a really neat story that came to life out of this, and she had a full-time paid internship this summer down at RC Capital. And this will give you a little bit more insight into some of the site visits and job shadows. You might see some faces here. The video that you're seeing play is at Miami University School of Emerging Technology that we took students out to. We've got pictures of P&G, Prysmian, who's a global leader in cabling. Again, Deloitte, we went out to, giving students exposure to things like the Big Four is great. Think about how many students have that prior to going off to college and potentially applying for an internship. Not many.
Let me jump in real quick too, because you mentioned something that it kind of connects to one of the questions a few minutes ago.
Sure.
You mentioned Prysmian. Prysmian is a great example of why students should say yes, whether they think they're interested in that particular field. Because Mrs. Richard just said they're a leading company across the world in the manufacturing of cables, particularly underwater cables. Now, if you work for Prysmian and you're on this call, please disregard what I'm about to say. But at no point did I ever wake up one day and say, you know what, one day I want to make underwater cables. I'm a certified scuba diver, so I do love underwater. But I've never thought about making cables. So you're like, well, why would I go to Prysmian? Well, Prysmian, like all businesses, is a massive global company with finance, law, marketing, communication, manufacturing, leadership. And so what they do if they are bold enough to say yes, we make sure that in those experiences, they get exposed to all of the facets of a business that sometimes you don't even think about when you hear, hey, here's the name of the company. Oh, I know they do this. But boy, oh boy, we all know they do and have everything else. And through sometimes those engagements sparks interest of our students to say, wow, I didn't even know that was possible. That's so much why we do this and why we create those site visits. So love that you dropped it in there. If you're one of my families from Prysmian, we love you. So, but yeah, and we had the opportunity to go to the site visit and it was great.
And just again, a quick question that's coming through. Well, and we love to bring them up here on the screen. Just show them again. The application is in your child's Canvas class of course. So like their class of 29 course, they can find it under the announcements of their class of course. And another question that came through is this being recorded? Yes.
Put it right now. Yep.
It will live at the same link. So whatever you're watching now, the link on YouTube, it will live at that same link recorded. That way they can watch it after.
And it just dropped in there, just like you saw the announcements come through your email through Constant Contact. Tomorrow, I will put a follow-up email, of course, thanking all of you for your time. And we'll make sure the link is in there for future reference.
Absolutely. So something we do, and I'll pause this, is when this video is shared out, we wanted to give you all insight as well into how meaningful that these opportunities are for our students. So after students have shadowing sessions, I create what's called shadowing sound bites. And these, again, are what are your main takeaways? So you're going to see students, I'm sure you're going to hear student voices in these videos that will, or the family. And I will say it's very exciting to hear what resonates with students. And sometimes it's what you would never even thought of resonated is kind of what's sticking from a site visit. So this is one from Morgan Stanley that you'll be able to watch. And then in a minute, I'll show you another just video opportunity you'll be able to watch when we share out this presentation at the end. So we talked about site visits, and that's kind of what we did at RC Capital. But then we talked about our internships. Again, same menu you saw earlier. You kind of get a better peek at all of the industries we represent here. But what is neat about the internships is essentially we're the stopping point for I will collect the resumes from the students. I will work to set up the internship opportunity with a partner. But from that point, that partner is communicating with the student, getting them onboarded, all of those things. They don't CC me on those emails from that point moving forward, or Mr. Dominic or Jeff. So what you'll see here is Niche Fire was an opportunity that we had last year, which is a local startup who does cultural listening, looks at cultural trends, works with companies like Nestle. I'm like, how amazing is that for a high school student? But anyways, they click onto this. They have their internship application, and this is, we talk with the partners and say, what do you want represented on that application? They send in their resume. And then from this point forward, as you'll see, I'm BCC this on this email. Khalil didn't email me. He emailed Caroline and offered her the position, and she accepted. And we've been in situations as well where students have been offered multiple opportunities because they've applied for 3 and 4 internships. And a great skill for them is they've had to learn how to decline opportunities and say, I'm sorry. I thought, navigating that situation is also something that they're probably going to have to navigate in life. So what better time to do it than learn how to do that in high school? But what is neat and what Jeff and I are super proud of is we're really not holding their hand through this opportunity.
Yeah.
We get the opportunities curated for them. We talk to the partners, and then we let the partners lead from that point moving forward.
And I know folks saw in the chat too, if you didn't, Danielle, you had a great question. That is, what happens when a student applies? Like, what are those accountability metrics to kind of keep them going? And yes, this is very much sometimes on them. We're going to set the conditions. We're going to kind of facilitate. We're going to nudge them. But ultimately, we want them to want it and lead their own experience. That being said, as you saw in the chat, when they first come on board and they first apply, that's one of the great things about our student advisory board kids. They send a welcome email. We talk about it. Mrs. Richardson is always looking at what is the progress on some of the students. And so we'll send some nudges like, hey, we noticed you started the course. Is something we can help you with? Because we also know that some may be getting into it right now, but it's soccer season, it's football season, it's girls volleyball season. And so it may not be the best time, but we also want them to know we don't shut you out. Here's when we do close you out. If you apply now and your child does not complete it really by the end of the year, we will close you out, but you're welcome to apply again. That just allows us to manage all the accounts and make sure that, those that were active, if they're active, they stay active. But it's a really great question, Danielle, that you have. So we want them to own this and lead this as much as possible. But yeah, we are definitely a little bit overwatching behind the scenes, nudging them along.
And I would say as well to this question that came through, absolutely. Even though I'm not a college and career counselor or on our counseling team, everything that I'm seeing come through is, especially in those college essays, any way students are able to connect their passions to what they're pursuing in college or what they're planning to I guess, engage in on campus is helpful. So everything that I've seen is saying, yes, any real world experience is going to be the differentiator. And especially, again, as you're entering, I think of 2 students that we had, Lily and you and Yvonne Gao, who had internships with Siemens this summer. I mean, Siemens is an incredibly well-known company, and they're going into their freshman year of college, having a paid full-time internship over the summer. And when they go into that career fair in September, they're probably not going to feel nervous. They're probably going to feel really confident based on what they bring.
So much of all of this work, folks, is because as we continue to talk to parents and partners and businesses, and whether that's local business, regional business, global business, they all talk about the same thing. Everyone's looking for qualified talent. And qualified talent oftentimes had to wait until they went to an apprenticeship or they were juniors in college doing a co-op. Well, no one's waiting that long anymore. If we are able to provide them some of these opportunities and cultivate these skills, as Mrs. Richardson said, these are the stories they tell that become part of college essays and interviews. These are the stories that make them more prepared, that when they eventually get into whatever it is that they do want to do, they are more prepared. And our team, our partners continue to tell us how impressed they are with our students, that if they say things like, gosh, if they were finished with college, I would hire them tomorrow. These are 17-year-olds, way more mature and ready for the real world than I think I ever was. So yeah, these are one of those things that are difference makers. And this is so much about not just what they are, but also who they are. And trying to do everything that we can to really make them future ready and prepared. So and I what think a great question.
The last thing I'll say before I click forward is if you're on LinkedIn, I think it's important, take a look at Jeff's profile or my profile. You'll see me repost a lot of what our students post after they're done with their internship. You'll able to see they're learning those skills about recognizing those that provided the opportunity, reflecting on what skills they acquired through that opportunity very publicly and visibly. That I don't know if they wouldn't have had that opportunity, that they would have even known like really what LinkedIn was for, and really how to show, again, that they are a learner. And them navigating LinkedIn and being able to share these opportunities and reflect on them very publicly, I think is really powerful for students this age. So this is, again, as you get this presentation, this is a video called Experienceships Insights, which we do with our interns. Every time we have a student do an internship, we try to sit them down and kind of have them talk through the opportunity. What's exciting about this is these are some of our partners. This is just from spring, or I guess January to August, all the different companies we engage with. And this could be anything from from a site visit or a job shadow, all the way to an internship. This does not represent even remotely the amount of people that come to engage with students about career talks or business at breakfast that Jeff will touch on. But I hope as a community member, as a parent, you look at this and you go, wow, there's some great names on there, local and national and international companies that our students have opportunities to engage with. And then again, if you are on Instagram or Twitter, Instagram is probably, I would say, the best in terms of sharing. I try to share things out in terms of what colleges are posting and what employers are looking for, and all these coaches with college essays, what they say to include in those things. And as well as for you as a parent to see, like, what are kids actually doing, or what is actually happening in the Experienceships program. We highly recommend following these social accounts because every single day there is something posted where you can learn or your child can learn. All right, and we're moving right along.
So one of the things that, one of the cool things about the Entrepreneur Center when we built it was we also have a professional Entrepreneur Center advisory board. So I have a team of 8 incredible community members that meet with me on a quarterly basis. And we talk about strategic vision. We talk about how things are going. What are the things that we should be thinking about from an educational ecosystem that we're not doing, that the business world is asking? And so they're incredible, just not just a resource, but they're also great friends. Most of them, we've had their kids. But one of the questions that always comes up is, well, how is this being integrated into the classroom? And so, yes, one of the most important parts of our Indian Hill Promise strategic plan is ensuring that career exploration, career pathways, opportunities to connect with speakers also is not just something that happens episodically outside of normal class, but becomes part of their normal experience. So as if you know, within our Indian Hill Promise, we've made a huge commitment to project-based learning. Project-based learning is asking our students to help solve and address real-world problems. To do that, we bring in guest speakers for them, panels to judge their work. We do competitions like the Big Pitch, which is Shark Tank and high school come together. And so one of our goals is to continue to make sure that there's a continued connection between the real world and what we do in school, because perhaps no time more than it is now, the education ecosystem and the business ecosystem have to integrate and work together. And as you see here, there's some examples of the strategic entrepreneurship class, photography class. All of these are moments where we've had people come in, we've had teachers connect with, students connect with, bringing some of these experiences into the classroom. Because yes, as you saw, we don't have the entire high school in the program quote just yet, but there are ways to bring these experiences to students. And so that's an area that you'll continue to see and hear grow within Indian Hill High School and beyond. That's part of the K-12 experience. So even though there are no pictures of our K-8 friends, we were just on a call with some of the coaches down in the primary school, asking us to bring some partners for some of the projects that they have lined up for the first semester. And so we're working on that too. So this is not just things that are going to have to wait till students are in high school. This is connecting careers in the real world into students as young as our kindergarten kids. And I got a chance to hang out with some of our kindergarten and second graders today. It was awesome.
Well, and I think too, there's some people that, as you know, like the people that work remotely, they really can't offer an internship. A site visit isn't in their wheelhouse. So this is their way of like, okay, how can I come in and give back in a different way? So coming in and coaching, we just had again the owner of Fleet Feet in Cincinnati, with multiple locations, come in and speak with our students this week. And he's going to be going now to our economics class and talking about profit and loss with those students. So we're integrating these partners in lots of different ways, very intentionally, to, like Jeff said, to give all students exposure to it, whether they're in the program or not. And then this was just something fun that we did in the spring, talking about finals. If you're a parent of a high schooler, you understand finals week. Our English teacher said, like, we want to do something really meaningful with the students, and kind of talked about maybe gaps that I was potentially seeing with our Experienceship students, and decided that they would do mock interviews, because every student, again, they've lived through those years behind the screens and in text, but all of the students give the feedback of they want interview practice. They know that they need it. So the entire the entire sophomore class last year had the opportunity to engage in a mock interview during their final exam period. And we used, if you see off here off to the side, the interview questions that were used were submitted by our partners. These were not generated by us. These were not just found off a website. When we bring on mentor coaches, we ask them for some questions that they would potentially be asked in an interview in their workplace. And that's where these came from. So this was a really awesome, authentic connection for our students and really meaningful in the long run, especially because a lot of them improved their resumes a lot. Okay, Jeff, I'll turn it over.
So some of the things that we mentioned earlier, that really we had to do some work to further expand, like what are some of the opportunities and what is this Indian Hill Experienceships program? And so as we shared earlier, some of the ways that students and staff can engage in the umbrella of the Experienceships program are career events. And what you see on the screen is one of the perhaps most successful, most popular events that we've continued to run for the last 3 years. We have had 7 of these business at breakfast events. And what you see in these pictures these are not career fairs. This is a time where students who, again, they can sign up, and this is for every student to sign up, not just students who are applying to the Experienceships cohort whose application is open. This is for all, where students get an opportunity for about 60 to almost 90 minutes to sit down with multiple professionals, often paired with interests or areas of interest that they've shared with us, and they just get to talk about life, story, success, failures. Boy, I don't know what I want to do. What led you to start this business? And they just get to hear the stories that are so impactful as they imagine themselves in the next phase of their life, thinking about where are they going to make an impact? What are they going to major in? Boy, I wanted to start a business. How do I do it? And these have been some of the greatest conversations. It's really hard as we host this event to actually shut it down. Of course, we feed them in the morning, and food brings people out. So yeah, we bait them in a little bit. But here's what's really cool. When we first started this, my goal was to outgrow the cafeteria. I'm like, man, could you imagine? Well, as Lauren will tell you, this past year, we've had an average of over 90 students for all 3 of these business and breakfasts, and we've had an average of over 35 partners come in, give us their time, and be part of these events. We just created and ran a business and breakfast event for the middle school staff to kick off their year, to create those connections with our teachers about, hey, I teach 7th grade ELA, or I teach 6th grade math. Like, what are some of the things that maybe I should be thinking about from an educational perspective that you see, although I have 6th grade middle schoolers? And it was such a powerful morning, again, thinking about exposure, education, and experience, not just for our kids, but also for our staff. And this is an event that's open to everyone. So again, when these start coming in, we're going to do 2 this year, a fall and a kind of a late winter business and breakfast. Whether your student is applying right now or not, they will see the flyers, have the opportunity, and again, they should say yes.
Yes. Again, they're building their network. If they're a little bit too timid to engage in an internship, this is a great thing just to have a conversation.
Yeah, one of our kids asked today during our advisory board meeting, one of the things that's keeping students away is, gosh, do I have to prepare to talk to like strange adults? Actually, you don't. We create the questions for you. They're literally sitting on the table. All you have to do, and our partners are great. If our students may be a little tentative, then your partners will break the ice and ask a question and get that rolling. So just an awesome event, hugely popular, and we've outgrown the cafeteria. I don't know what we're going to do in the fall, but we may need a bigger space. So we'll attack that when we get there. What you see on the screen that Lauren put up are just, again, flyers of opportunities of career connection guest speakers that students have seen. 2 years ago, I think we had 4 career connection really guest speakers. A formal time, whether it was flex or lunch and learn, come in. Last year, we had 12 to 15 of them. Our goal is 1 to 2 a month. And as Lauren shared earlier, 2 days ago, was it 2 days ago or was it yesterday?
It was 2 days ago.
2 days ago, yeah. 2 days ago, we had Frank DeJulius, CEO of Cincinnati Fleet Feet, come in and just talk to small groups about his journey. And it's just a phenomenal story about a summer job he had because he liked to run. Eventually, it was, I wonder if I can own one of these stores. And then he did the legwork, worked really hard, and And now he owns 7 stores here in an area, in a city he never grew up in, and he's thriving. And so what a great story he was able to share with our kids. And they had such good questions. And again, these opportunities are open to all students, grades 9 through 12, whether you are applying for Experienceships or not. They are open for everyone. So I'm going to keep looking out for all those flyers. And we do a ton of advertising. We pummel their class of pages. We pummel the video boards and social media. So they know it's coming. They just have to say yes and sign up and show up and bring a friend.
And what we love about this too, and the question that came up earlier was, do you look at different industries or do you try to get them exposure? If you'll see here, especially on the February flyer, we've got everything from marketing to commercial real estate to aerospace engineering and business. So that was just in the month of February last year that students got. Awesome. Which is incredible. And again, a lot of those are community members that are saying, yes, I want to get involved. And the fun thing is, especially if you have a high schooler, you'll know, maybe even middle school, Jeff, you could speak to this too. When they come home from school, hey, how was your day? Hey, what'd you do today? You probably don't get a lot. But what's cool about this is you're able to kind of, I don't know, share your life, connect with their life a little bit more intentionally in these Career Connection Speakers opportunities. So if this is something that you're like, you know what, I'd love to come and have lunch at my kid's school for the day and talk about what I do. To be honest, what we found is the kids are really proud to have their parents come in and speak. Yes. And are rushing in the room to say hi to their parents when they're there. So, and all of their friends love to see you too.
So yes, you are allowed to come in and enjoy these with us. We're just going to sign you in officially. So yeah, without a doubt, like our Leadership Summit on the Hill huge event, it's open for the community too. So yeah, reach out if it's something that you want to kind of drag your son or daughter into and say, guess who's coming with me to work? And it's going to be you and a career guest speaker. So another thing, just another opportunity for students, often our kind of professional workshops, because professional workshops, as you can imagine, do work better in small groups. These are experiences that our Experienceships cohort students have accessible to them kind of first and foremost. Obviously, when you're looking at some of those flyers, when you're thinking about LinkedIn profile work and resume building and mindset workshop through professionals, there is a sweet spot. Sometimes it's 10, 15, sometimes it's 30, 40. So these are opportunities that are often held for those students in the Experienceships program. And again, whether they've completed their learning modules or not, they can take part in one of these. They just have to wait for the internship to make sure they complete that course, as we were talking about earlier. So again, just trying to give our students as many opportunities as possible to really make them truly future ready and see what's out there.
Absolutely. And then this video, we hope that you've seen it. We're not going to play it just to save everybody time, but this is a video that was created this past August, I guess just 1 month ago. Gosh, it seems like forever ago, that highlights some of our summer partners for internships, as well as the students that engaged in those. So if you haven't watched it, it's about a 4-minute video. We would highly encourage you to do that. It's, embedded here within the slideshow. But if there's any other questions, we'd love if you throw them in the chat. We're happy to answer them. This bit.ly link that you'll see here goes to this presentation. So again, the recording of this video, this webinar, will live here on YouTube where you're at now. Like if you refresh your page, you'll see the recording as soon as we end the live stream. But if you want access specifically to the slideshow presentation to kind of look a little bit more finitely at those things with your child, or if you're a student and you want to look at them a little bit more closely, that is what that bit.ly goes to, and it is case sensitive. And yes,
one last thing I would say too, in terms of some of the videos and the testimonials, as Lauren alluded to, sign up for our YouTube channel, sign up for social media accounts. I know, because I am the father of 3 students in a different school district. We're Loveland Tigers, and we're also helping and partnering with them to bring some of these experiences to those kids. But the reason why I say it is, if you're like me with 3 students in 3 different buildings, you probably receive a few weekly newsletters from your school where you're like, oh my goodness, another one? Now I joke, but it's true, because we too in the Entrepreneur Center will start to send out newsletters. Now we've been doing monthly newsletters, but that's a lot. So you'll start to see as of next week, we're going to do some short spurt newsletters highlighting buildings at a time. The reason why I say that is all of these videos, all of these links, pictures, etc., will live in those newsletters, and they have. So yes, I know sometimes it's a lot to pick and choose, but if you do want to know and learn more along the way, before you hit delete, go check out that newsletter, scroll down to the bottom and see all the opportunities that we have. And all these things are linked as well. And, it's almost still impossible to actually capture them all. So,
Yes.
we're so appreciative for spending some time with us tonight. I know it's beautiful out. I know the NFL season's about to kick off. So if you're a fantasy football team, good luck. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan or Eagle fan, I'm sorry, but good luck tonight, I guess. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm just hoping for a tie. And we're just so appreciative. And we're just, when you go home and you talk to your own children, share what you've learned here tonight. Give them a little peer pressure nudge. Just say yes. Get them out of their comfort zone. There's so much that's available to them that we know are difference makers as they matriculate these next few years with us.
This is the easiest work to do because we know what a difference it's going to make in their lives, whether it's saving them from changing a college major and the debt that comes with that, to finding something that they may have not thought that they would have a passion for that they do, or even parents, as we know, the best thing is keeping your kids close to home. Maybe they never realized the opportunities that are available in the Cincinnati area for them and the powerhouse companies and organizations we have nearby. Maybe we can keep some of your kids nearby and show them the opportunities that lie right here in Cincinnati. So thank you all so much for attending. Again, we're so happy that you're here with us tonight. And again, feel free to share the link to this webinar with anybody you think in the community that it would help to see it. All right.
All right, everybody. Well, have a wonderful night. And of course, as always, let's go Braves. We'll see you all soon.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.